Joe Simpson here. I've been speaking with my friend Matt. We've been talking about when it's going to be time to go fishing. He thinks in a couple of weeks we're going to have some warm stretches, enough so that we can get back into the water and start fishing in the early spring. That brought me to thinking about some of the things I need to do to get prepared. I've already been through my fishing reels. I've been through my fishing rods. I've put all the line that I need to put everywhere that I need it. And I've kind of sorted out my lures that I can get to on my desk. But in doing that, I found out that there were a lot of things missing and I couldn't remember where some of the stuff was, which made me remember it's all in my kayak because I loaded my kayak down with so much equipment. So today what I wanted to do was go through the kayak readiness prep for the spring fishing season. So for today, why don't you follow along, take out a notepad and jot down some of these ideas because there's some things that you may not have or may not have covered. Let's go through it all and let's talk about it and see where we end up. So luckily for me, my kayaks are suspended up in the air, so it's really easy to do a hull inspection, which is what we're gonna start with first. I think the first and foremost, you wanna make sure your boat is gonna float. So you wanna check your hull, make sure there's no holes, make sure the scupper holes are clear, and all the things that would hang down or below underneath this boat are in good working order. So as you can see on the keel, I'm scratched, but it's all good. Scupper holes are clean. Everything's looking nice under here. This is just a rope from where I hang it up. That is my cup holder and my pedal location. We'll get more into that in a moment. This is the location where my fish finder sits, and my fish finder is attached with these little zip ties here. So that's going to be helpful to know that those are all in place. The screws are all in place and the thing's not going to fall out and sink to the bottom of the water. This has wheels in the keel kind of thing. So they're pretty cheap, but they do the job, especially if you're on hard concrete. It really protects these parts and components back here from getting scratched up. So she's looking good. I'm gonna go ahead and bring her down and we'll get into more detail just in a minute. Another thing you're gonna need to do is you're gonna need to clean this thing up, right? It's been sitting here all winter. It's got dust all over it. You're gonna wanna go through, vacuum out all the debris that are sitting in the footwells, clean out all the hatches, pull out all the trash, just kind of go over this thing and clean it up. I'm gonna pull out my shop vac, give this thing a clean down, and we'll be right back. Guys, this is so gross. I literally had ice in this front section with the scupper plugged up, and it smells so bad. It smells like funky, gross water. Gonna have to clean that up quick. It reeks. So for cleaning, I just use warm soap and water and a microfiber towel. I don't get all crazy about rinsing stuff off like, you know, you do a car because it's not going to really spot up, but you just want to get down in all the nooks and crannies, clean up underneath all these places, make sure there's no funculation, and just have a little dignity, man. Come on. It's gross. Yeah, this thing's nasty. I should have noticed right away, but anyway, much better. Okay guys, quick tip of the day. Once you've wiped everything down and cleaned it up, they make this aerospace protectant. It's ultimate UV protection. It's probably not a bad idea to spray at least the top side of your kayak, especially if you store it outside and it gets sunny weather on it. It's this UV protectant. It probably helps the plastic from breaking down. I haven't done any real clinical trials here, but I'm gonna assume it works. I'm gonna spray this thing down and give it a rub down. I'll probably do it like now and then maybe a couple times through the season and see if it makes any difference. But luckily I store my stuff inside, so I don't really run into any issues with sun damage on my kayak. But if you store it outside and you're getting a lot of sun damage, you might want to try this stuff. I'll give you a close-up here. Right off of Amazon, it's just 303 UV protectant spray. And I think it just sprays on in a mist. You rub it on and leave it. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe this thing down and get it protected. All right, let's be completely honest. That spray smelled an awful lot like Armor All. But anyway, I believe it works. I'm going to stick with it. It does leave a nice shiny gleaming finish on your kayak. Makes it look really clean. Almost makes it look brand new. Super shiny. She's all cleaned up. Let's start walking through some gear. Okay. Safety gear, you want to be talking about some normal boater safety stuff. First and foremost, you need to have a PFD device. So I use this type of personal safety device. This is an Onyx. It has a self-inflating bladder inside with a CO2 cartridge. You should probably change those periodically. I do believe they work. Don't ask me how I found out. But basically, just kind of want to make sure that it's clean, working order, the buckles and clasps are there, and maybe have an extra one in your boat, which is what I stored up front, but I took it out because it stunk, it got wet. So I'm gonna let that dry out before I give up on it. The next thing you wanna have in your boat is a whistle, which I do not have. So I'm gonna pull out my notebook and write down the things that I need to put in here. So if I get pulled over, I will have what I need. So whistle is missing, so I'm gonna get that. The other thing you're gonna want on your kayak, and I don't fish at night, so I don't really have a high light post, but I do have a light in my seat. So you can see this light's pretty bright. If I'm ever out in the water tying a knot, changing a lure, doing something, this light is really, really nice to have on here, but it would also serve the purpose of lighting me up in the water if I had to traverse across somewhere in the dark. So having a light source with a fresh battery is not a bad idea. So this light right here, I'm gonna go ahead and plug it up and just make sure it's fully charged so I don't run into any issues of it running out when I'm on the water. So now let's do a fishing gear check. I'm gonna start from the front and work my way back. The first thing I'm gonna do with the fishing gear is I'm gonna look at the things that I have right here at the front left of my leg. First thing I have is a scale, and I just wanna make sure that it's turning on and it still has battery. And it looks like it's maybe not coming on. So I'm gonna go ahead and change the battery on my fish scale. And this scale takes the 2032 round type batteries, so that's a little annoying. I'll probably upgrade this scale this year, but I'm gonna go ahead and just put 2 fresh batteries in here, make sure they're ready to go. A good set of pliers is good to have. These pliers are combo because they have plier functionality and they also have cutters inside. So this could suffice as a line cutter, but I like to have, even better than that, a pair of good scissors. I don't know why, but having scissors on the boat is always going to be a good idea. So that's another fishing gear item that you need to have in your kayak at all times. Now this little side pouch right here mounts up to this little side rack, and it just hangs right over, and it's mesh, so if water gets in there, it drains out, it stays dry. It's really, really good to use, and I really like it. I'll put links below with some of these things that I'm going through so you can order some of this gear for your kayak to get it ready. So under the seat of my kayak, I have a tackle box. It just so happens that I can slide this in. I'm probably gonna pull that out on my desk and reorganize it, get it kind of more springized. I'll put this on my bench and I'll get to organizing all of that stuff. Next on the list, this is my big tackle box. This is my gear box behind the seat. This is a big box full of stuff. So inside this box, you're gonna see my Garmin fish finder. We'll set that aside and check that out shortly. In here, I don't even know what I have in here. Oh, cool. This is all kayak stuff. These are tools that I use to fix my kayak on the water. Been looking for that, Milwaukee. Wow, that's funny. That's there. And then also I have some tools and the Allen wrenches. We'll keep those out because we'll use those shortly. Actually, we'll just keep this toolbox out, but all these different Allen wrench sizes and tools of things that I've used on this kayak, and extra tie downs and straps. I just kind of put them all in one place. I put them in plastic bags because I don't want it to get wet and rust. So that's my tool bag. See, this is good to go through because you figure out what the heck you have in here. Look at all those jigs. I've been looking for jigs for like the last few days going, where are all my jigs? Yeah, they're in my kayak. Okay, guys, we've got this all back in there. Probably just as messy as it came out, but at least it's in packets and bags. A really cool thing about this tackle box, and really it's a DeWalt toolbox from Home Depot. It has a top lid with a quick grab section, which I really like because I can just get in there, get something I need, grab that crankbait, square bill, swim bait, whatever I need, and have it real fast. Oh, I got my fishing license in the top too. Okay, let's talk about electronics. We did a hull check and we saw that underneath my Garmin fish finder transponder is looking good. And I'll show you my fish finder. That's dirty, so we'll be cleaning that up. Use the old UV spray rag and give it a wipe down. The Garmin has a couple of connector ports on the backside. They're right here. There's the XDCR and the power cable. I've got a power cable that I use, and I run my Garmin off of the 12-volt DeWalt battery pack system. It's a modular system, so I can take it out if I need to. And I run it up under my seat. I keep all the cables out of my way. Power cable, which is here, and you can see the little nub location on there. And you basically follow the things and you plug it in. And then the other thing I have is the transponder cable, which goes down to the hull, which I have stored underneath the hull. Same thing, there's a nub location there. You follow the nub location on your wire, you plug it in, and you make sure it works. Now, one thing I won't be able to do is test my transponder. I can test the power. What I usually do is get on the water And I'll take these cables right here and I'll run this in this location and I'll lay these cables over top of the wire and then run it up underneath my seat so it keeps it out from underneath my feet. What's nice is I can bring these modular little DeWalt M12 batteries. They make big ones, small ones, but one of these lasts for about 3 hours. 2 of these last for 6. You can get one of the bigger ones with the flat bottom on it and they'll last for close to 8 or 9 hours. So you can get an all day worth of fishing out of a couple batteries and they're easy to transport. You just put it in, pop it in, and turn her on. And you can see my Garmin is powered up and everything seems to be working okay. Just so you know, you can get the bigger 6 amp hour batteries and they'll last for almost 8 hours for that same setup. A little bit larger, not as easy to transport. So usually I just like having 2 or 3 of the small ones and then throw them in the box, but you could take one of these and probably get almost a whole day out of it. And this is obviously gonna seem simple and stupid, but check out your oar, because even if you have a pedal drive or some kind of motorized kayak, you always want to make sure you have the proper equipment to get you off the water in case you get stuck. Okay, very important to check is your mechanical gear. Now this is a pedal drive system, and this piece is actually very important for the drive system because once you put the drive in, this piece actually comes in and yokes it and keeps it from kicking back on you, and it also keeps the water from coming up into your space. Make sure this thing is strapped on the back side of it. You've got a nice little knotted system. Make sure it's tied. Make sure it's short enough. Still has elasticity. Any adjustments you need to make, go ahead and make them. Let's put the drive system in here. I have it hanging on the wall. Okay, so I noticed something right away. Before you put this thing back in place, you want to kind of visually inspect. So check this out. These things are kind of moving, and I'm not sure if that's a huge problem or not, but they seem like they're seated and they have Loctite screws. I'm going to leave that alone for now because I don't want it to get over tightened and break. The other thing is you can check while you have it in the air is you can check the smoothness and rotation of your prop and your pedals, and this is like butter right now. I have very few hours on this thing, but I will tell you a couple of things that I've had to tighten on the water. These pedal lugs. These pedal lugs, for some reason, let me bring you a little bit more into the center here. These pedal lugs, for some reason, come loose. So that's where those Allen wrenches that you keep around are really handy, because I've actually had a pedal come off in the water. And I think it's because the screws tighten in a clockwise fashion, and one of the pedals, depending on which one it is moving in a counterclockwise position, so it's always trying to loosen it. So it's typically the one, see, like right there, it was pretty loose. So I like to give these like a pretty good snug. I don't go crazy. I just give it like a happy snug and then snap the pin back in, and then we'll flip it over. Do the other side. Okay, that's pretty good. That's got a real nice happy snug to it. Like that word, happy snug? I don't know why I'm saying that. Now, the other thing to check is the mounting points for your pedal drive. And let me show you how this thing goes in. This is kind of a kayak review all at the same time. It goes in like this. Okay, and then you have, I'll show you these. You do that, that's what you do. Okay, so when you put this thing in, your kayak sits in these 2 channels up here, and these clips go across. So that's a good thing to check to make sure it still works. So down below, you have the final one that you clip in here, and you might think that that's okay, but without that insert, that pedal drive can still kick out and go back. So you gotta be careful. So that's why it's a must to put this thing in place, lock it in, it pushes it forward, you clamp it down. And you know, this whole assembly takes a pretty good amount of force because you're basically kicking it with your feet, and you want to make sure everything's tight. So once everything's locked in place, you kind of want to give it a shake test. You want to run the pedal around backwards and forward. You know your pedal's tight. So once you take this out, hang it back on the wall, you know you're ready. Go ahead and wipe it down with the same UV protectant and a cleaner. Make it look just as pretty as the rest of the kayak. And we're getting close to being done here, guys. Well, guys, for this round, that about wraps it up. So let me just summarize real quick what we went through did on this kayak today, and then I'm going to go ahead and do my other kayak, but I won't put you through the whole video on that. You want to do a kayak inspection, make sure there's no holes in the hull, make sure nothing's leaking, all your scuppers are in place, all the parts and pieces that constitute the body of the kayak are in good working order, handles, things like that. You want to do your cleaning and maintenance, just vacuum it out, wipe it down, be decent, clean your kayak, make it look nice, put some UV spray on it, check that out. Safety gear and lights. Now, one thing that I will say I don't have on here that is probably a vital piece of safety gear is probably a first aid kit of some sort. I don't really know how deep and how far you'd want to go with a first aid kit. You probably wouldn't hurt to have a small one with some antiseptic and some wipes and some different things to perform some minor medical emergency stuff on the water, which God forbid would happen, but if it did, at least you'd be ready. Fishing gear check. Make sure you know what's in your box, because like me, you could have a pile of really good stuff and never even know it's there, so you would never use it. So I think the key to fishing is probably limit your arsenal a little bit, know what you have and what you're ready to use, and then know where it is so you can grab it quickly. We've already done the fishing rods and reels and line, so those are ready. It's a matter of just picking the ones we want for that day. But each time I go out in the kayak, I'll probably parse down what's in the box just to make it a little easier, or whatever I think I'm going to be using that day, I'll usually pull it out and stick it under my seat so it's kind of ready to go. Function check, that's crucial. You want to make sure you have an oar. You want to make sure your rudder works. You want to make sure your pedals work. You want to make sure your cables are tight, screws are tight, things are just tightened up in general. So when you're ready to go fishing, you're not fiddling with that stuff on the water. Believe me, it's a lot harder to do it when you're sitting in a boat in a windy day and it's rocking back and forth and your pedal comes off. It sucks. So just get it all ready beforehand and you won't have those issues. Final prep and final inspection. Some of the things that you might not think about is having a bottle of water on here, having some bug spray, having some sunblock, things like that that you get on the water and you say, oh crap, I wanted to bring that with me today, and you forgot. Now you have it, you can use it. So really, it's not that big of a deal. I just like being prepared, and I thought this would be a fun video. Plus, I'm getting excited about fishing in March. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is the Viking Marius 10.5 foot pedal drive kayak I got from China. I did a video or two on Chinese imports. My shtick was I would buy 2 or 3 of these. I'd sell 2 out of the 3 and keep 1 and almost get it for free because it was so inexpensive. So a good way to buy a kayak, but by all means, I think if you're going to buy just one kayak, the American local brands are better and easier to buy and probably a little nicer. This is a nice kayak, but there's some things I don't like about it, like the thickness of the plastic is a little thinner than I wanted. And I did speak with the manufacturer and they did say that they could make a model with a thickened plastic hull, which on the next go round, maybe I'll try that. But for now, it's working great. I don't really stand up in this thing to fish. It's so comfortable in the seat, and I have like a nice little neoprene pad. It's a lot of fun for me, and I love fishing in it. I don't like dragging it around, but having the wheels to help me pull it back and forth from the truck to the ramp is nice. And yeah, I can't wait to do more fishing this summer, guys. It's gonna happen. We're gonna catch some big ones. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a nice weekend. And if you have any other advice or things that I'm missing, please let me know, because I know I didn't cover everything. Take care, have a good weekend.